do you think? Is it really discipline or it's abuse? What's your take? Hi guys, this is your girl Angel and I'm back at it again. So guys, today I thought I would jump on and talk to you guys about a topic that is close to my heart because I also had experienced that as I was growing up. So many parts of Africa and different countries in Africa have a belief, or it's just something that I believe everyone, not just Africa, but from where I come from, it's a thing where you have to discipline your children and you have to correct them when they're doing something wrong. But upon coming to the diaspora and being in different countries, when I was in Europe, when I came here to the USA, I noticed that they really do take time with the children here. If a child is slow, there are different teachers for every child. For every type of situation, there's always someone to help out that child. You find that if a child is slow or if your child is autistic, there are specific teachers for those children. And nobody, like, I'm gonna explain my experience. When I was growing up and when I went to school, if for example, we would have what we would call a class captain or a class monitor that will be monitoring who is making noise or who is not making noise. So these people were in charge of writing down the names of those people that were making so much noise in the class. So when the teacher would come to the classroom, the teacher would request for the list of noisemakers from the class monitor or the class prefect. And when the class monitor would give the teacher the list, if your name was on the list, we had what is known as, over here, it's not a lot of times that teachers use chalkboard. Back home, most classes use a chalkboard and you use chalk to write notes on the board. So the chalkboard has a special type of eraser that removes the white stuff, like whatever. If you write with a chalk in pink, blue, yellow, whatever, it has a specific duster that you use to rub off everything from the board, so that the next teacher that comes in can also use the same board to write down notes or bring down a message across to the children or the pupils or the students. So those dusters are made of like wood. They're like maybe that size, and then the top has the eraser and the bottom part is like wood. So that duster is what the teacher will now use to hit these fingers. So if I'm a student or a pupil, I would do this and the teacher would hit me, pop. And if that's wood and this is your fingers, when they hit you, it hurts real bad. And so in as much as it was discipline and it will enforce some type of order in a classroom, most teachers don't do that over here. And a lot of teachers would take time with the students here as opposed to back home. Yes, teachers will implement, like trying to help you, give you notes. I remember a time when the teacher would come into the classroom, and remember, this is a government employee and you are the pupils of the classroom, and the teacher will say, oh, who wants to write down the notes for me? And somebody will offer to write down notes, and I would be one of the people that would offer sometimes to write down the notes for the teacher, because then when you do that, the teacher says, oh, you can get the book and you can go copy the notes by yourself when you go home. But when you think about it, if you are an employee of the government and the government is paying you to do a job, you're not supposed to tell pupils to write down notes for you, because that is in your pay period. So if you are getting paid to do a job, I don't think it's right for any teacher to tell any pupil to say, hey, go write down the notes on the board, because that pupil is there as a student to learn from you, to be empowered by you. But now the pupil is there writing down notes for you while you sit down and tell stories. I remember this one particular teacher that I had. Obviously, I'm not going to mention names, but when we were in class, this specific teacher of ours, all she ever talked about was how handsome Hassan was, how much she loved Hassan. And every time she came to the classroom, people would listen to how handsome Hassan was. I kid you not, I didn't even sit for the exam for religious education because all I could remember from the lessons of the class were how handsome Hassan was. And so these are the things that are still going on, I believe, in government schools back home. Even in private schools, I'm sure these things still happen whereby teachers are telling pupils to do their job for them. And they will sit there if it's a whole hour or, they have a period like it's math period, and then the person will be there writing down notes or writing down questions for the teacher while the teacher sits there and chit-chats with the pupils, which is entirely very wrong. I feel like, our system is really so bad, and we have a lot of work to do as a people, as a nation, as the continent of Africa, because so many things are just so backwards. If you also look at how, students here go to school based on the interest that they have, like let's say they like technical subjects, like they like math or science, and when they graduate from high school, they say maybe they want to be a doctor. So instead of focusing on wasting your time on other subjects that are not going to be beneficial for what you are interested in doing as a career, the school system is made in such a way that you will be placed in those classes that you are really good at, and you find that you have teachers to help you through, guide you through, and there is always help for you to improve in those subjects. Another thing that irritated me when I was in school was, when you have like an exam in the classroom, like a math exam or a religious education exam or whatever subject that you had, when you had an exam and the teacher marked the papers and they will come with the papers and the papers are graded. So there's like A, B, C, D to the lowest grade anyway. So what the teachers would then do would be like, okay, they would say so and so's name, and the person would say yes ma'am or yes sir, and then the teacher is going to say how many marks you got, and then the teacher is gonna immediately say, oh, you didn't do good. Like, so you feel some type of way. As a result, a lot of teenagers felt some type of bullying from from the teachers, you know what I mean? Because sometimes that also makes somebody not to even improve in their grades, because if you are telling everybody in the classroom how many grades they have, then what if they like somebody in the classroom, for example? I'm not saying that it's something that I would encourage, but the truth of the matter is, in high school, kids like each other. In kindergarten, kids like each other. In senior high, kids like each other. So there are those people that have like crushes, or just in general, you don't want to feel some type of way just because the teacher came to you and said, oh, you need to work hard, you got a D in your class, or you are so lazy, you need to study. So everybody would know what grade you had because the teacher would announce the grades right there and then, and a lot of people would feel down and depressed, and that probably affected a lot of people. It did affect me in so many ways. As a person, I felt like I couldn't ever improve. I thought that I couldn't even ask any teacher for help, because if the same teacher is coming to the classroom to announce how I failed their class, how is it possible for me to go to the same teacher and tell them, oh, hey, you know what, I would like to improve in your subject? How can I talk to a teacher when I don't even feel comfortable because you're already making me feel uncomfortable? So it's so many things in the system that happen in the school system back home. I recently watched a video of a man talking about...
Okay? Right. So they brought a school system where you learned useless things. Homo habilis. Who was Shaka's mother? What is the longest river in Africa?
Yeah.
Tell me, what is the use of that rubbish? Okay? So you went into school and you were studying how many times Muslims pray per day.
Yep.
You wake up at night to study how many times Muslims.
School teaching us about who was Shaka, or just ridiculous things like what benefits do you get from learning who was Shaka? Like who Shaka was, so what? Like what's the point? They teach you to go to school to be a doctor that knows how to give Panadol, but not a doctor that can also open their own their own private hospital or a clinic. Most countries have people and they all want to improve on themselves. When they go into school for medicine, they actually want to be a doctor on their own. They want to have a practice like a lawyer. They want to have a practice of their own. They want to have, if it's a doctor, if it's a nurse, they want to have their own places. People that have like specific careers that they have, but they want to have their own things. A lot of people in Zambia, I'm from Zambia, a lot of people from Zambia have gone to school, have PhDs, only to be employees, and they don't want to be employers of people, because when they go to school, what they are taught is to be an employee and not an employer. And so it's ridiculous that you waste so many years in school, so many years, you keep wasting them because, it's the school. For so long when I was in school, I thought to myself, why do I have to learn about Hitler? Why do I have to learn about Mussolini? Why do I have to learn about all these people? Like, what is the benefit? If I know about them, what is it gonna add value to me in a history class? Or I have, food and nutrition class. Not everybody is interested in cooking. Why am I in a food and nutrition class? You know what I mean? Do I even really want to cook? Do I really even want to learn how to cook? And those are the subjects that they will teach you. You have 12, 15 subjects in a classroom, and you have to learn each and every one of them. You go to school memorizing things. You literally go and study as many times as the Muslims pray, which is 5 times. You go midnight, whatever time, and you're memorizing things only for you to be a graduate who is an employee to somebody else. And that's why you find that even the system, it's just pathetic. It's pathetic. Like, it doesn't benefit a person to be independent. It doesn't teach people to be independent thinkers. It's almost like, oh, I graduated, now I can work in the hospital so that I can give Panadol. And honestly, when I listened to that video of that gentleman, honestly, it touched my heart, because it is true. It's a waste of time. I wish that there were institutions or NGOs that are in the country. What exactly are they doing? Are they just helping people, or is it just for their own benefit? If there are NGOs in the country, why don't they use that influence that they have to bring up places that are gonna help people with skills? There are people that are good with their hands. I'm good with my hands, and also from the time I was a child until now, I love to write. But because the system in my country is ridiculous, they don't really look at writers as a career or a profession that you would have. People look at a doctor and they're like, oh my God, you need to be a doctor, you need to be a lawyer. But if I tell people that I have an interest in poetry or in writing, it's something that people will look at me and they'll be like, so you went to school for 12 years only for you to be a writer. And yet when you come to the diaspora, you find these great writers and these great influencers, and they have these great books that they have published. But because our system is pathetic, there was no encouragement, there was no teachers to help me, to guide me through my gift, to guide me through what I really loved as a child then, to help me grow in that gift that I had, that passion that I had. And maybe today I would have written 5 or 10 books already, but not to say that I will not write my books. I will eventually, but now it's gonna be a longer process than it would have been if I had the right type of help, the right type of teachers to talk to me about writing, which we don't have. There are a lot of people that are good with their hands, good with, you know, agriculture. They're just so good that even when they do some type of plantation, because we have what is called agriculture science class, and there are people that would sit for that classroom, and there are people that were super good with that class, and everything they did in that class was perfect. And they're just good people with they're just good with electric stuff. They haven't gone to university. They have not even been to Harvard University. But what they have is a skill that needs to be, you know, trained and, you know, helped. You know, somebody help them so that they grow in that skill, such that even if they went to school for that specific field, they would do tremendously well. But what we have is a lot of doctors, a lot of nurses, a lot of people with qualifications that really have no significance, that have no importance really. It's like you have a title just to have a title so that people know that you have power, but then the influence is zero. So what's the point of having power when you have zero influence on people? You know? And so that's what basically I wanted to talk to you guys about, and like the experiences that we had growing up. I had growing up in school where, you know, the teachers, I'm not gonna say the teachers were bad. They did the best they could, the things that they were taught in school. I wish that people would improve, and now people are beginning to see that the significance of going to class and learning about Shaka is 0.000. Because why are you learning about Shaka? Why? What's the point? Why don't you learn about your own history so that you know the roots that you have, so that you know what really happened to your people? Why do they have to teach you about Bismarck? Or why do they need to talk to you about Hitler? Are you a German for you to be knowing about Hitler? I mean, it's important for you to know the history of the world, but it's more important for you to know your own history, because when you know your own history, you know exactly the words that you speak, you know where you stand, you know the value of the bloodshed that was done years ago by your forefathers. You appreciate it more. But when you don't know your history, if somebody comes in and says, you know, back like a dog, you back like a dog because you don't know who you are as a person. So I hope that things can change back home, like in the school system, the government system. Like, so many things are just crazy. It's just crazy. So I just thought I would share that and just say, you know, there's a lot of bullying also in schools, whereby, you know, here, if somebody tells you things like that based on my past, you know, we're just taught to stand up for yourself. When you're growing up, if somebody tells you something that's hurtful, like, oh my God, you're so fat. But back home, if somebody tells you you're so fat, you grow up in such a way that you grow up knowing how to defend yourself. So when somebody said, oh my God, you're so fat, immediately you just go, well, you're so this too, and then you don't feel bad about it. But here, if you tell somebody they're so fat, people will take it to heart, and it becomes a serious issue. We have counseling involved. We have people involved whereby, you know, they need counseling, or this person was bullying me, or if somebody talks about how your hair looks, or, you know, just so many different things that regards to bullying, someone will say them, but there's always a defense mechanism from like counselors or, you know, teachers, people that are in the right position to help those children that are actually, you know, bullied by people or by other people in school. As opposed to me, where I'm coming from, if somebody tells me, oh my God, your nose is so big, I'm just gonna look at them and be like, well, that's why you're so short. And they'll be like, oh, you're so tall. And, you know, so almost like a lot of people have just, a lot of Africans, not every African, but most of the pupils, like from my generation, like, you would, if somebody tells you something, you just slap it in their face and tell them what they already have. So if they tell you you have a nose, well, I have a nose. You can see. That's why I breathe so good, because it's a big nose. But a little nose is not gonna breathe properly. So let's deal with the one that I have right here. So people would stand up for themselves. I remember, fighting in school with boys. I was such a little bully in school. After I came out of junior high, I went into secondary school. I couldn't just sit there and allow somebody just bully me and be like, oh, he told me this. I would just stand up for myself. I remember I would throw punches to boys when I was younger, and like a lot of people would say, oh my God, you act like a boy. But I was raised by my father, and I didn't grow up with my mother that much. I grew up with my dad, and with my dad, there wasn't that type of, how women have like empathy and they feel things, and they'll be like, oh, up in their feelings. My dad was not up in his feelings. He's just gonna tell you one word and that's it. And so I grew up with that, and so I'm not always up in my feelings the way that you would find like a normal, like, well, not normal, but a regular person would be up in their feelings and saying, oh, I feel like this. When I speak and I say I feel stuff, then I actually do feel stuff. Like I feel angry or I feel pain. Then when I speak up, for people that know me, they know that, okay, she really means what she's saying right now. But I don't go out like, up in my feelings. If somebody is in my space, or a guy, and I'm in a relationship, and you're just, it's just not for me. I'm not the type that's gonna sit there and just be like, okay, because it's this, I'm just gonna take anything. I'm not that type of person, because I grew up with a man, and growing up with a man, there's certain things that you learn, and I appreciate growing up with my father, because without him I wouldn't be the confident person that I am today. So rest in peace, Daddy, and thank you for making me this young lady that I am today. But I know for sure that there's so many other things that happen: bullying, or the abuse in school, or how teachers just speak up and they say certain words to you, like, it doesn't even matter. They'll just curse you out, and you're like, oh my God, did that teacher just say that to me? And you're wondering, this is a school system that is supposed to be helping me, and you hear things like that from the teacher, and it just breaks your heart. You know what I mean? So basically, guys, I don't want to talk too much and go out of topic. The reason why I wanted to do this video is just to sensitize people and let them know that they have it good here in the USA and their school system. Even though people complain about literally everything, the school system is really good here, because your children get the best of education. I'm not saying that the education back home is bad. No, it's not. But it could be better. The teaching skills could be better. Everything else could be better. But it is what it is. So I just wanted to share that with you guys, and hopefully it helps somebody out there who thinks that, oh, in Africa this. The system is just terrible, and there's a lot of work that needs to be done back home in our school system, in our government system. And I hope you learned something from me, and you also get to see that there are so many things that people experience while they are in Africa, that when they come here they are very fortunate and they are privileged to get some opportunities. I'm not saying that it's terrible, no, it's not, but the opportunities are more vast over here than it is back home. So if you're out here and you have your kids here, thank God you have kids that go to a school and they have counselors and teachers that are actually helping them to boost and grow themselves and be better at the skill that they are good at. If it's writing or it's music, that's why you find that a lot of young people that are good in music, they turn out pretty good here, because they have that support system, they have teachers, they have that help. You know what I mean? So just be thankful for what you have, because you don't go to school and no teacher has to hit your fingernails with a duster, or no teacher has to use it's like a pipe, like a little pipe, and they hit you on the bottom, your butt, they hit you there, 1 2, like a shamble. We used to call it a shamble. They'll hit you on the butt because you were making noise in the classroom, or you were giving attitude to a teacher. which a lot of kids don't experience today. Am I saying discipline is bad? No, but there are other ways to do it that can make things much better than the way they are right now. A lot of kids are indisciplined in the diaspora because they know that, oh, I have rights, you can't do this to me, you can't touch me, you can't do that and that. But if you don't discipline your kids, the Bible clearly says, when you need to, if you don't, like, it talks about how you don't need to spare a rod from a child. So you as a parent, it's your duty, you as a guardian, it's your duty to help those kids grow, because if you don't do it, they will be rubbish in the society. And so there are better ways of doing it, not in an abusive way, but you still need to enforce discipline. Sometimes the discipline has to come out in a harsh way, because if not, people just come out as rubbish people out there. I'm just being honest. Like, if you look at most of the kids out there and you tell them, can you cook an egg, like an egg, they can't even cook an egg. It's sad. And those are people that need to be independent and grow up on their own. And you're supposed to be 18 and independent. How are you independent? You can't even cook your own egg. Just because you have a job and you have a car doesn't mean you're independent. You know what I mean? You can be having all those things, but your mind is still dependent on your parents or dependent on your guardian. So if you're out there, you know, and you were interested and you enjoyed this video, I hope you learned something, and I hope that you appreciate what you have now, because what you have is better than what somebody else has out there. Somebody else is crying to be in your shoes. So guys, thank you for watching. This was your girl Angel. If you have not subscribed, baby, come on, do not be so mean. Don't be a meanie. Don't be so mean. Don't be grouchy. Just subscribe, honey. Don't be watching and not subscribe. Subscribe to my channel, like, share, and all that wonderful good stuff. So guys, your girl is bouncing out. So ciao guys.